The Chicago Bulls battle back against the Dallas Mavericks only to come up short. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's loss. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so tonight, the Chicago Bulls get beat by the Dallas Mavericks 120-119, snapping their 4-game winning streak. And once again, we see a valiant effort from the Chicago Bulls as they were able to fight back, just could not get over the hump in this one. And so before we go ahead and jump into the key takeaways from tonight's game, I first wanted to remind you here that 72.6% of you that watch are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure that you go ahead and you slam dunk on that subscribe button, as it means a lot to us here at Bulls Digest as we try to go ahead and reach our end of the season subscriber goal. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the content for today and jumping into the box score and looking at the key takeaways. And so we always start with the MVP on the night, or MVPs. And so I want to say that my first MVP of the night would have to go to our rookie, and that is going to be Buzelis. I think that Buzelis had a terrific basketball game. And so let's start with the fact that he played 38 minutes in this one, and I believe that is a season high for him. And so that is great to see that he is getting on the floor and getting these minutes to get the experience. But look, his game, man, he was certainly energetic tonight. And look, he was all over the place. He had 28 points. He had 9 rebounds. He had 6 assists. He had 1 block. He had a +9 in the plus-minus box score tonight. He was 10 of 17 from the field, a big 5 of 7 from downtown. And he was also 3 of 4 from the free throw line. And so what I liked about Buzelis is really this was a game in which you just see the potential. I loved how he was able to put the basketball on the deck and get to his spots. And then there were just a variety of moves that you just love to see with his size and the upside and his ability to just create. You can see that as he gets stronger, he's going to be a tough cover. And then shooting the basketball with confidence. That was something that, that was like maybe one of the weaknesses for him coming in. In his draft profile, he's looked very good. You could tell he's working on that shot, and he shot it with confidence tonight, hit the boards well. And look, Buzelis comes with that mindset, and this is what I will say about Buzelis. Look, I don't know, if he's going to be, I would say, the franchise player, but I'm going to say this, and I'll say it once more. I've said this before, that whatever happens with this team, when it starts to win, I'm talking about from the start of the season all the way to the end of the season, and really turns this thing around, Buzelis is going to be a huge factor for the Chicago Bulls. And so with that being said, my next MVP of the night, it's going to go to Coby White. Look, this is Coby White's 15th game, scoring at least 20 points. And I know it was not a great game as far as, it just looked great, pretty, stuff like that. But he continued to keep battling it out. 25 points. He had 11 rebounds. 9 of those, I believe, were in the first half. And so you got to give him a ton of credit for that. And he also had 2 assists, and he was a +9 in the box score. He was 8 of 16 from the field, 2 of 4 from downtown. But he continued to get to the free throw line. He was 7 of 9 there in 35 minutes. And so Coby White, have got to give him a lot of credit tonight. And so now we go into looking at the rest of the box score and looking at the rest of the team here. And so let's go ahead and start with Josh Giddey. And so look, Josh Giddey had a tough night tonight. 8 points, 4 assists, 8 rebounds. He was -14 in the plus-minus box score, 3 of 12 from the field, 0 of 3 from downtown in 27 minutes. And so, look, here's the thing. Even though it was a tough night, there was a sequence in this game, I believe it was the second quarter, refs are letting them play. And P.J. Washington, look, he was attacking really throughout the entirety of the game. But there is one play where it gets physical. You see Josh Giddey eventually knock the basketball away and gets the steal. And then he goes back down the other end and doesn't get the foul. But I love the physicality there. I love the fight that I saw from him tonight, even though it was a tough night on both ends of the floor. And so I got to give Josh Giddey a lot of credit there. Next up, talking about Kevin Huerter. So, look, Kevin Huerter, he had a tough night tonight. tonight. 3 of 9 from the field. He was 1 of 5 from downtown in 32 minutes. 8 points. He had 6 assists in this, 3 rebounds, and -13. Look, I thought that the effort was there for Kevin Huerter. The shots just did not go down. But once again, you can see that, look, this guy is a guy that has really figured it out with the Chicago Bulls. His movement looked good. It just, the shots weren't there tonight. I just still like the fight from both of these guys. And so next up with Vooch. And so Vooch, look, a ton of energy tonight. I think it's probably the best energy that I've seen from Vooch, even though he did miss a critical free throw down the stretch. He did hit the 3-point shot that pulled us within 1, and he had 25 points in this one. He had 9 rebounds. He had 5 assists. He had a steal. He was -10. He was 9 of 18 from the field, 2 of 5 from downtown in 30 minutes. And so this was the most active I've seen Vooch as far as offensively. And then since he's come back from the calf injury. And so I got to give Vooch a ton of credit in tonight's game for that. Now we move on to the bench. And so with Zac Collins, I did like what I saw from Zac Collins. Look, he did not shy away from shooting the basketball in his 18 minutes. He had 13 points. He had 7 rebounds. He had some very nice assists. In fact, there was a knockaway play. I think it was Julian Phillips knocked it away. And then you see Zac Collins pick it up off of the ground and throw it ahead for a nice dunk there to Julian Phillips. And so again, his awareness as a passer as a big man, I think that is something that we definitely love, the athleticism that we are getting from him. And so he was a +9 tonight. And so I like the minutes that we got from Zac Collins. Look, Patrick Williams struggled tonight. 0 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, -19, 0 of 3, 0 of 2 from downtown in 18 minutes. I mean, it's been like this for Patrick Williams. It's just very much, kind of an up and down. He'll play very well, and then you'll have games like this. And so that's really all I could say about Patrick Williams. Look, it is all going to be about him just trying to turn the corner and become consistent here. And so a tough one for him tonight. And then with Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips, look, I loved everything that I saw from both of these players. And let's start with Dalen Terry. Look, Dalen Terry, he is moving with a ton of confidence on the offensive end. I love how he is taking the basketball up. It looks like that his handle has improved. I like how he is putting pressure on the defense, even if it turns into a pass. And in tonight's game, look, he is not hesitating shooting the 3-point shot. He was 2 of 3 from downtown. He had a very good road trip. It looks like that is continuing. He had 8 points. He had 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, +10, 3 of 6 from the field in 26 minutes. Look, if Dalen Terry can continue to do this, there is no reason why he is not in the rotation night after night. I loved what I saw from him. And Julian Phillips, likewise. Look, he had 4 points tonight, but I love the slashing ability. I liked how he got his hands active, got the steal, and knocked it down to Zac Collins to get the dunk later on there. But 4 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, 2 steals, +14. 2 of 2 from the field in 16 minutes. Love the energy and the effort that I got from both of those players. I think that they are really starting to establish themselves as players that you can count on in your rotation. We've got to see more of it, but I liked what I saw tonight. So, look, a tough one for the Chicago Bulls. I think once we jump into the team box score, I think that really one of the key takeaways here were the turnovers. I think that was one of the things that really hurt us in this game, the turnovers and the Mavs' ability to take advantage of that. And so let's go ahead and jump into the box score and look at the key takeaways there. And so when we're looking at the box score, we always start here with the rebound total. So 56-41. I think the Bulls did a terrific job with the boards. Considering, too, that this was a tough night for Josh Giddey on the boards and that you had Coby White get as many boards there in the first half, I think that was exceptional for the Chicago Bulls to hit the boards like that. And this is just kind of building off of those winning habits that you want to continue to build, not only for this season, but just moving forward. But this is where I think we really got hurt in tonight's game. 19 turnovers to the 6 for the Dallas Mavericks. And I think that is something that we've really struggled with. From the start of the season, I think we've kind of turned the page during this hot streak that we're on. And so tonight, not good in that department. 8-3, the Mavs lead in the block shots. They had a ton more activity there. 64-58, Mavs with the points in the paint. Not bad for the Chicago Bulls. They did have Anthony Davis on a bit of a minutes restriction, but they were able to get downhill tonight and get some points there in the paint. 9-4 as far as the Mavs and the steals. What you do like in tonight's game, 21-17 Bulls in the fast breaks. And so that is really talking about just continuing to build off of what the Chicago Bulls wanted to come into the season doing, which is playing fast, getting up three-point shots. They do that tonight. Unfortunately, come out on the wrong end of things. But as far as the field goal percentage tonight, not bad for the Bulls. 47.3% from the field, 42.4% from three, so not bad there. You have the Mavs at 46.5%. 30% even, from three for the Mavs. And so 31 assists to our 43 field goal makes tonight. So not bad there. And so, look, this was just a game, and again, in which we see the max effort out there. This team certainly could have given up. And in fact, it looked like that they had the Mavs for a bit of time, and then Klay Thompson started to get loose. We blew some defensive assignments there. And then also, too, they were kind of hunting us a little bit as far as matchups were concerned on the defensive end with P.J. Washington and these guys like that were kind of attacking Giddey, things like that. And so, look, man, it was a tough night for us out there. But, again, I like the competition level and just the way that we were competing. So we'll see what happens as the Chicago Bulls are off here for Sunday. We'll be back, I believe, for Monday. And so, anyway, let me know in the comments here, what are your key takeaways from tonight's loss? And as we always say, go Bulls, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, peace.